Hey there, movie buffs, and welcome to another episode of Double Feature with your host, Pedro. And what do I have for you today? Well, a tribute to a 98-year-old legend, an EGOT winner, and the man responsible for some of the best comedies ever made, Mel Brooks. It's rare for a director to make more than one masterpiece in their career. Even fewer can direct two classics in the same year. Recently, we've seen some well-known filmmakers attempting even bigger projects. Kevin Costner is working on Horizon, an American saga, while Sam Mendes is tackling four separate but connected films about each member of the Beatles. Both are aiming to create something special with these ambitious projects. I, for one, am all on board with movies about George Harrison, Paul McCartney, and Ringo Starr. Less so about a biopic covering the life of a hypocrite with a penchant for domestic violence.
Imagine all the people.
I guess audiences are willing to overlook these minor things if they get a chance to listen to a cringy, utopian song. But back to the main point. Directors like Oliver Stone, Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, Alfred Hitchcock, and Steven Soderbergh are known for releasing two major films in the same year, both critically and commercially successful. One name that's often left out of this conversation is Mel Brooks. In 1974, Brooks directed and co-wrote two hit comedies, Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles. These two spoofs landed among the top 5 highest-grossing movies that year, with Blazing Saddles taking the top spot in the US.
Nice grouping.
This achievement solidified Brooks' status as a leader in the spoof genre, which makes up more than half of his directorial work. Mel Brooks first made his mark with the wildly funny The Producers, followed by a more subdued but still humorous adaptation of The 12 Chairs. Throughout the 1970s, he continued to enjoy both critical and commercial success. However, the 1980s were less favorable for Brooks. The films I'll be talking about today did well at the box office, but didn't impress critics. The 1990s were even harsher on his iconic career. Movies like Robin Hood, Men in Tights, and Dracula, Dead and Loving It lacked the sharpness and satire of his earlier works. Personally, I consider Life Stinks a particularly low point for Brooks. This decline can partially be explained by changing comedic tastes during the 1990s, when broader humor and high-concept comedies became more popular. Meanwhile, Brooks's once clever parodies began to feel repetitive and formulaic. But today, with pure comedies being scarce and truly funny ones even rarer, it's worth revisiting some of Mel Brooks's underrated works from the 1980s. A time of cultural transformation. Today I'll be covering two movies that showcase the director's talent as a triple threat, as a writer, director, and actor, two entries that embrace the unconventional side of comedy and smart critique and satire, two films that incorporate a then-modern update on physical comedy and slapstick tropes, two titles that remind us that classic comedies, even the last praised ones, are still funnier than anything we see these days. So let's get to it.
Walk this way.
From the naked dawn of man to the magnificence of the Bible.
The Lord Jehovah has given unto you these 10 commandments.
In History of the World Part 1, Mel Brooks delivers a comedic anthology featuring a collection of sketches that lampoon key moments in history. The movie begins with the dawn of man, where early humans discover art, music, and religion in humorous, exaggerated ways. It then fast-forwards to other pivotal moments in history, covering the Roman Empire, the Spanish Inquisition, and the French Revolution. The film hops between these historical eras, delivering gags through quick-paced vignettes filled with sight gags and exaggerated performances. Overall, the movie combines slapstick humor with playful dialogue, offering a humorous spin on historical events in different settings. History of the World Part 1 stands out in Mel Brooks' filmography due to its unique structure and format. Unlike his other films, which usually follow a single narrative or genre parody, like Blazing Saddles for westerns or Young Frankenstein for horror, this movie takes an anthology approach, consisting of multiple sketches that spoof different historical periods. This fragmented structure lets Brooks explore a variety of historical events and moments, making the film more episodic compared to his other, more linear works. The format gave Brooks greater creative freedom to mix genres and tones within a single film. Whilst most of his earlier works stick to one genre's conventions, History of the World Part 1 shifts between spoofing historical epics, MGM-style musical numbers, political satire, and religious parodies. The ability to use various historical events as a backdrop whilst transitioning quickly between different sketches broadens the film's scope. The unpredictability and sketch comedy style set it apart from Brooks's more cohesive narrative parodies, giving the film a distinctive place in his body of work. Ironically, the same creative freedom that came with a sketch-based format was a source of criticism for History of the World Part 1. Both audiences and critics felt the lack of a cohesive narrative, aside from retelling specific periods of human history, led to a collection of gags that often felt aimless, with many jokes either hitting or missing the mark. Brooks's direction was also criticized for poor guidance, and there were consistent issues with the timing of the comedy. Additionally, the movie was frequently compared unfavorably to Brooks's earlier works, which were narrower in scope and therefore more cohesive. Many critics also held History of the World up against Monty Python's contemporary full-length features Life of Brian and Holy Grail, which had more unified storylines. Despite the mixed reviews, the movie still performed well at the box office, landing in the top 20 hits of 1981, and did little to harm Brooks's overall reputation as a filmmaker and a comedian. But are the criticisms valid? Should they stop you from watching History of the World Part 1? Absolutely not. While History of the World Part 1 may differ from Brooks' traditional spoof films, it has plenty of heart, with a mix of well-timed line deliveries, slapstick, and classic juvenile humor. These elements come to life in memorable comedic moments like the Piss Boy sketch.
His boy!
Ah oui, monsieur. Oui.
It's Good to Be the King,
It's good to be the king.
and the infamous Caesar farting in Rome scene. The Inquisition musical sequence stands out as one of Brooks's finest, even rivaling the classic Springtime for Hitler. The film also boasts an impressive cast filled with comedy legends such as Shecky Greene, Sammy Shore, Sid Caesar, Jackie Mason, Carl Reiner, and B. Arthur. Even Orson Welles lends his iconic voice as the narrator. Sadly, Steve Guttenberg is missing from the ensemble. The movie also marks a turning point in Brooks's career. It was the last time many of his frequent collaborators appeared together in one film. Harvey Korman, Cloris Leachman, Madeline Kahn, and Dom DeLuise all were united for this title. And for Leachman and Kahn, it would be their final collaboration with the comedy master. So if you're willing to overlook the critics and their negative takes on this title, you'll find that History of the World Part 1 delivers on Mel Brooks' signature style of comedy. Whilst it may not have the same narrative focus as Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, it's far from being a lesser entry. The film stands as a testament to Brooks' comedic brilliance and is worth enjoying for what it is, a fun, wild ride through history that showcases the legend's unique talent for satire and humor.
Planet Spaceball.
Everybody got that?
Spaceballs, the movie.
Princess Vespa spaceship within range, sir. Good.
The movie's plot centers around planet Spaceball, ruled by the villainous President Screw. played by Brooks himself, and his inept enforcer, Dark Helmet, played by Rick Moranis. The Spaceballs have depleted their planet's air supply and hatch a plan to steal the clean atmosphere of the peaceful planet Druidia. To achieve this, Dark Helmet attempts to kidnap Princess Vespa, played by Daphne Zuniga, on her wedding day, intending to hold her ransom in exchange for Druidia's heir. However, the princess escapes in her spaceship, accompanied by her loyal droid, Dot Matrix, voiced by Joan Rivers. The king of Druidia, Vespa's father, hires a rogue pilot, Lone Star, played by Bill Pullman, and his half-man, half-dog sidekick, Barf, played by John Candy, to rescue her. As Lone Star and Barf embark on their mission, they face numerous challenges, including battles with Dark Helmet and encounters with the wise and mystical Yogurt, also played by Mel Brooks, who teaches Lone Star the power of the Schwartz. Spaceballs marked Mel Brooks' return to the genre spoof style that defined his successful run from 1974 to 1977. The film performed well, ranking among the top 25 box office hits in the US. But like his 1981 movie, History of the World Part 1, it faced significant criticism. One of the main critiques was its timing. Released 4 years after The Return of the Jedi, the last entry of the original Star Wars trilogy, Spaceballs was seen as arriving too late to ride the parody wave effectively. In contrast to films like Airplane, which came out right after Airport 79 and parodied the disaster film trend, whilst it was still fresh, Spaceballs was accused of lacking momentum. Additional criticism focused on the uneven quality of the jokes and the repetitive nature of certain gags. The title was appointed by Stinker's Movies of the Year as 1987's worst movie, a questionable honor considering titles like Jaws: The Revenge and Leonard Part 6 were released the very same year. Like History of the World Part 1, I found Spaceballs to be a thoroughly enjoyable film. It features an outstanding cast including Rick Moranis, Bill Pullman, John Candy, Joan Rivers, and of course, Mel Brooks himself. The jokes are sharp and not repetitive in the slightest. Brooks skillfully weaves in jabs at other iconic titles like Planet of the Apes, Star Trek, and even Alien, with John Hurt reprising his role from the original 1979 film in a hilarious cameo.
Oh, no. Not again.
Spaceballs stands out as one of the more inspired sci-fi spoofs, surpassing films like The Ice Pirates in its witty take on George Lucas's beloved Star Wars franchise. It introduces a bunch of colorful, memorable characters, and special recognition has to go to Dom DeLuise for his brilliant portrayal of Pizza the Hutt.
Million? That's unfair.
Unfair to the payor, but not to the payee. But you're gonna pay it.
I think Spaceballs has aged in a way that makes it even more enjoyable now, especially after the release of 6 more Star Wars movies and the massive shifts in the entertainment industry. There's something truly brilliant about how Mel Brooks mocks Hollywood's obsession with franchises and merchandising.
Wonder, will we ever see each other again?
Who knows? God willing, we'll all meet again in Spaceballs 2. The search for more money.
Also, there's a sharp critique of modern-day studio decisions when it comes to release strategies.
How can there be a cassette of Spaceballs the movie? We're still in the middle of making it.
Oh, that's true, sir. But there's been a new breakthrough in home video marketing.
There has?
Yes, instant cassettes. They're out in stores before the movie is finished.
Brooks' take on these trends feel especially relevant today as blockbuster franchises dominate the box office. In a way, Spaceballs foreshadows the media landscape we live in now, where sequels, reboots, and an endless stream of merchandise are everywhere. It's a testament to Brooks' sharp, forward-thinking humor. The 1987 title indeed marked the last major commercial success for the director. And whilst later films like Dracula, Dead and Loving It, and Robin Hood, Man in Tights, have their own cult followings, Spaceballs feels like the last truly great Brooks title. It's a funny, sharp comedy that not only stands the test of time, but also became more relevant as the years have gone by. So whether you're watching it for the first time or revisiting it in 2025, you'll undoubtedly appreciate its clever satire and timeless humor, especially when considering the modern-day condition of comedy, filled with players who enjoy fake laughs and laughing at their own jokes.
Anymore. But last week.
And these are today's recommendations. Once again, I'm Pedro from Vinyl and Celluloid. Thanks for watching. And if you are interested in finding out my thoughts on other movies, go on over to my Letterboxd page where you can find over 450 movie reviews penned by yours truly. Until next time, keep the reels rolling.